The signal came on a Tuesday. It pulsed through the vast emptiness of space and reached Earth's listening stations with a pattern too regular to be natural. Dr. Olivia Martinez was drinking her third cup of coffee when the alert lit up her screen at the Global Space Initiative headquarters. "We've got something," she said, nearly spilling her coffee as she leaned forward. Her fingers moved quickly across the keyboard, isolating the signal from the background noise of the universe. The year was 2087, and humanity had been sending messages into space for over a century. They had waited and listened, but the stars had remained silent. Until now. Olivia called her team together. For 3 days, they worked without much sleep, analyzing the message. It wasn't random. It had structure, mathematics, and eventually, they realized it contained images and language. "It's an invitation," Olivia told the GSI director on the 4th day. Her eyes were red from lack of sleep, but they shined with excitement. "They call themselves the Galactic Concord. They've noticed our radio signals and technology. They want to meet us." The news spread across Earth like wildfire. Humanity was not alone. The Galactic Concord was a group of spacefaring civilizations that had mastered interstellar travel centuries ago. Their message included blueprints for a communication device that would allow for faster conversations across the stars. 6 months later, Earth had built the device. The first video transmission showed the aliens for the first time. Olivia gasped when she saw them. The beings on the screen were enormous, most standing between 15 and 20 feet tall. Some looked like giant reptiles, others like walking trees, and some appeared to be made of crystal that caught the light. "Greetings, humans of Earth," said a reptilian being whose scales shimmered with iridescent colors. "We welcome you to the galactic community." The United Nations quickly formed a committee to handle first contact. They needed to send representatives to meet with the Concord. After weeks of debate, they selected a team led by Captain Nathan Green, a decorated veteran of Earth's Space Force. Nathan was tall for a human at 6 feet 2 inches, but he would be tiny compared to the aliens. He had weathered skin from years in space and steady blue eyes that rarely showed fear. "I need the best on my team," Nathan told the UN committee. "This mission will determine humanity's place among the stars." They gave him a ship, the newly built Aurora *, Earth's most advanced vessel. The crew included Olivia Martinez as chief scientist, Ambassador Eric Phillips for diplomacy, engineer Kevin Dixon to handle the ship's systems, and Lieutenant Samantha Howard for security. The Aurora prepared for launch from the moon base on a clear Earth night. Billions watched from their homes as the sleek silver ship rose on pillars of blue flame. "This is humanity's greatest journey," Nathan said to his crew as they strapped into their seats. "We're about to meet beings who have walked among the stars for centuries. They're bigger than us, older than us, and probably stronger than us. But we bring something unique to the table, the human spirit." The Aurora's engines hummed to life. On Earth, Olivia's young daughter watched the launch with her grandmother. "Will Mom be safe?" the girl asked. "Your mother is helping write history," her grandmother replied. "She's brave, just like you." The Aurora broke free from lunar gravity and accelerated toward the coordinates provided by the Concord. It would take 3 months to reach the meeting point near Proxima Centauri, the closest star to Earth's sun. As Earth became a small blue dot behind them, Nathan looked at his diverse crew: scientists, diplomats, engineers, and soldiers. They were small compared to the giants they would meet, but they carried the hopes and dreams of their entire species. "Remember," Nathan told them as the stars streaked past the viewports, "it's not size that defines strength. It's heart, mind, and will." The Aurora raced toward its destination, carrying the first humans to meet the galactic community, unaware of the challenges that awaited them among the stars. The Aurora slowed as it approached the massive space station orbiting Proxima Centauri. The structure was enormous, easily 20 times the size of Earth's largest orbital platform. Rings of metal and glass spun slowly, creating gravity for the various alien species inside. "Look at the size of that thing," Samantha whispered, her hand instinctively moving to the weapon at her hip. Nathan straightened his uniform and addressed the crew. "Remember your training. We represent all of humanity today." A voice came through the ship's speakers. It spoke in perfect English, though the tones were deep and rumbling. "Human vessel Aurora, you are cleared to dock at Bay 94. Welcome to Harmony Station." The Aurora glided into the docking bay, which had clearly been modified to accommodate their much smaller ship. Through the viewports, they could see enormous loading cranes and cargo containers that dwarfed their vessel. As the airlock cycled, Ambassador Phillips took a deep breath. "Let's make a good impression." The door opened to reveal a delegation of aliens waiting for them. The humans stepped out and immediately felt tiny. The smallest alien present was at least 3 times their height. A reptilian being with iridescent scales stepped forward. "I am Vorex of the Tarvik Imperium," it rumbled. "Welcome to Harmony Station." Its massive head lowered to better see the humans. Behind Vorex stood a creature that resembled a walking tree, towering nearly 20 feet. "Greetings. I am Elder Foe of the Muldoon Collective," it said, branches swaying gently. The third representative was the most alien, a crystalline being that seemed to shift and refract light. "I am Zenith of the Kensu Assembly," it chimed in a voice like ringing glass. Ambassador Phillips stepped forward and performed a formal bow. "On behalf of Earth and all humanity, we thank you for your invitation. I am Ambassador Eric Phillips." The aliens exchanged glances, and Olivia noticed what seemed like amusement in their expressions. "They're so small," Vorex said to Elder Foe in what he clearly thought was a whisper, but the booming voice carried easily to human ears, "like pet creatures." "But they made it here," Zenith chimed. "That shows some intelligence at least." Nathan stepped forward. "We may be smaller, but we're eager to learn about the Galactic Concord and share our own culture." Vorex extended a massive clawed hand toward Phillips. "As is tradition, we offer the greeting of strength." Phillips looked at the hand. Each claw was the size of his forearm. The traditional greeting would surely crush his bones. "I apologize, but our physiology may not be compatible with your greeting customs. Perhaps we could find an alternative." Vorex pulled his hand back, clearly offended. "You refuse our sacred traditions." Elder Foe intervened. "They are fragile beings, Vorex. We must make allowances." The humans were escorted to their quarters, a space designed for a single Muldoon, but hastily divided to accommodate the entire human delegation. Everything was oversized. Chairs like platforms, tables at chest height, doorways they could walk through without ducking. Later, during a tour of the station, Olivia noticed herself feeling dizzy. She discreetly took readings with her portable scanner. "Captain," she whispered to Nathan, "the atmosphere here contains trace elements of xenon compounds. Not immediately dangerous, but prolonged exposure could cause health issues for humans." Nathan nodded. "Add it to the briefing. We'll need to rotate the crew back to the ship regularly." As they entered the main concourse, the humans stopped in awe. Hundreds of aliens of different species moved about, all of them enormous. Some floated, some crawled, others walked on multiple legs. The smallest was twice human height, the largest nearly 30 feet tall. "We're like children among giants," Samantha muttered. A group of crystal beings similar to Zenith noticed the humans and gathered around, peering down with faceted eyes. "Are these the new species?" one asked. "How cute." Nathan straightened to his full height. "We may be small," he said loudly enough for all to hear, "but humanity has faced challenges before. Size isn't everything." The crystalline beings chimed with what might have been laughter. Ambassador Phillips sighed. "This is going to be harder than we thought." The Grand Council Chamber of Harmony Station was built to impress. The ceiling soared hundreds of feet high, with windows showing the stars beyond. The human delegation sat at one end of a massive table, looking almost comically small in chairs built for giants. Representatives from 12 alien species filled the room, their large forms making the humans feel even smaller. The purpose of this gathering, Boon Forex, who seemed to be leading the proceedings, is to determine if humans are worthy of joining the Galactic Concord. A Kensu representative's crystalline body glittered as it spoke. For 10,000 years, our Concord has maintained peace among the stars. Each new species must prove their value. Elder Foe's branches rustled. Traditionally, species demonstrate their worth through feats of strength, engineering marvels, or displays of cultural achievement. Nathan exchanged worried glances with his team. How could humans compete with beings 3 times their size in tests of strength? Vorex continued, "We propose a series of trials. First, a contest of physical prowess in our arena." Ambassador Phillips leaned forward. "With respect, such a contest would not be fair given our size differences." This caused a rumble of discussion among the aliens. A bulky reptilian being even larger than Vorex laughed, a sound like rocks in a grinder. "If they cannot pass our trials, perhaps they are not ready for membership." Nathan stood up, looking tiny but determined. "We accept the challenge of proving Earth's worth, but we request trials that don't unfairly disadvantage us due to size." Vorex's scales rippled with what might have been amusement. "What do you propose, small one?" "A series of challenges testing different kinds of strength, not just physical power, but adaptability, endurance, and problem-solving," Nathan replied. "Qualities that matter in a diverse galaxy." The council members murmured among themselves. Finally, Elder Foe spoke. "This is reasonable. The trials will be modified." As the meeting adjourned, Lieutenant Samantha Howard approached Nathan. "Captain, I need to speak with you privately." Back in their quarters, Samantha pulled out a small device that created a field preventing electronic eavesdropping. "During the tour yesterday, I managed to access an unsecured data terminal." Her voice was low despite the security field. "Some factions within the Concord don't want Earth joining. They're calling us unpredictable miniatures and suggesting we should be quarantined." Olivia frowned. "That explains the cool reception." "There's more," Samantha continued. "I found references to something called the miniature problem in their historical archives. Apparently, there was once another smaller species that caused trouble." Nathan paced the oversized room. "We need to find out more about this previous species, and we need to prepare for these trials." Over the next 2 days, the human team worked tirelessly. Engineer Kevin Dixon studied the station's technology, looking for ways humans might demonstrate their value. Olivia analyzed data about the various alien species, seeking to understand their limitations. Ambassador Phillips practiced diplomatic phrases in 3 alien languages. On the morning of the trials, the humans gathered in their quarters. "Remember," Nathan told his team, "we're not here to outmuscle them. We're here to show them what humanity can offer. Adaptability, innovation, and determination." They were escorted to a massive arena filled with thousands of aliens. The first trial involved moving heavy objects through an obstacle course. The Tarvik representative completed it easily, lifting boulders that would crush a human. When Nathan's turn came, he didn't try to move the objects the same way. Instead, he used simple machines, levers and rollers, to accomplish the task with minimal strength. The crowd watched in surprise as the small human finished the course. "Clever," admitted Vorex grudgingly. "But cleverness is not the same as strength." "Sometimes it's better," Nathan replied. "In nature, the strongest species isn't always the one that survives. It's the one that adapts." As they moved to the next trial, Olivia whispered to Nathan, "They're testing us, but we're also learning about them. And I'm noticing something interesting. For all their size, these species have specializations that limit them." Nathan nodded. "Let's show them that being small has advantages too." The second day of trials had just begun when the lights in the Great Hall flickered. The human delegation was midway through their presentation on Earth culture and history. Ambassador Phillips paused his speech as the massive screens behind him went dark. A minor technical issue, rumbled Vorex, but his scales had changed color slightly, showing concern. Moments later, a deep alarm sounded throughout the station. The giant aliens began moving quickly, creating a scene of controlled chaos. "Emergency protocol activated," announced a computerized voice in multiple languages. "Station power systems compromised. Life support functioning at 60% capacity." Nathan turned to his team. "Everyone back to our quarters. We need to grab emergency gear." As they hurried through the corridors, they saw aliens rushing in all directions. Emergency lights cast eerie shadows on the walls. The humans had to press against walls to avoid being trampled by the much larger beings. They reached their quarters just as another announcement came. "Warning. Sections 12 through 17 losing pressure. All beings evacuate affected areas immediately." Kevin Dixon checked his tablet, which he had connected to the station's information network. "Those sections are 3 levels down from us, but they contain critical power distribution nodes. If those go down completely, the whole station could lose life support," Olivia added. Nathan made a quick decision. "We need to help, not just for our sake, but to show what humans can do." They grabbed their emergency suits and equipment, then tried to reach the station's command center. When they arrived, they found a scene of confusion. The massive aliens were struggling to coordinate their response. Elderfo noticed the humans. "You should seek shelter," the tree-like being said. "The situation is dangerous." "What exactly happened?" Nathan asked. "A crystalline," Kensu replied. "Power distribution failed simultaneously across multiple systems. Maintenance crews cannot access the affected areas due to decompression." Nathan looked at his team. "Dixon, what's your assessment?" Kevin studied the station schematics on a giant screen. "The affected sections have maintenance tunnels that feed into the main power nodes, but they're too small for any of the station crew to enter." "How small?" asked Samantha. "About 1 meter in diameter," Kevin replied. The humans exchanged glances. "We could fit," Nathan said. He turned to the alien leaders. "We can help. Those tunnels are too small for your people, but perfect for us." Vorex looked skeptical. "The radiation levels would be dangerous." "We can handle short exposures," Olivia countered. "Our suits have radiation protection." Elderfo's branches swayed thoughtfully. The tunnels were designed for maintenance drones, not living beings. "Let us try," Nathan insisted. "What do you have to lose?" After a brief discussion, the alien leaders agreed. Kevin downloaded the station schematics to their tablets, and the team split into groups. Nathan and Samantha would try to reach the main power junction. Olivia would analyze the system failure from a secondary control room. Kevin would attempt to reprogram maintenance drones to help. As Nathan and Samantha crawled through the narrow maintenance tunnels, they could hear the station groaning around them. "It's like the whole place is sick," Samantha said, her voice crackling through the comm system in their suits. They'd reached a junction where the tunnel widened slightly. Nathan shined his light ahead and stopped suddenly. "What is it?" Samantha asked. "Look at the power conduit," Nathan pointed. The surface of the metal was covered with tiny, moving dots, barely visible to the human eye. Nathan switched his comm to the station frequency. "Olivia, we found something. The power conduits are covered with some kind of microscopic organisms. They're eating through the insulation." In the control room, Olivia received the message. The giant aliens looked confused. "Show us," demanded Vorex. Olivia patched Nathan's helmet camera to the main screen. The aliens leaned forward, straining to see what the humans had discovered. "Those are too small for our sensors to detect," one of the Kensu said in surprise. "Or your eyes to see clearly," Olivia added. "But they're just the right size for humans to spot." For the first time since their arrival, the aliens looked at the humans with something other than amusement or condescension. It was respect. "Can you fix it?" Elderfo asked. "We're going to try," Nathan replied. After all, Sometimes the smallest tools are best for the most delicate jobs. While Nathan and Samantha worked on the power conduits, the rest of the human team sprang into action. Olivia hurried to the station's biology lab, bringing samples of the microscopic organisms for analysis. The lab was designed for beings 3 times her size. She had to stand on a chair to reach the examination equipment. A Kensu scientist named Lumi bent down to observe her work. "How can you see something so small?" Lumi asked, crystal facets glinting with curiosity. "Humans have always lived alongside microscopic life forms," Olivia explained as she prepared a slide. "Our bodies are full of helpful bacteria. We learned long ago to study the very small." The screen showed the tiny creatures magnified thousands of times. They were metallic in appearance, with multiple legs that generated small electrical charges. "Energy parasites," Lumi said in surprise. "But these shouldn't be able to survive in our station environment." "Someone might have brought them here on purpose," Olivia suggested. "Sabotage." Meanwhile, Kevin Dixon had commandeered a workshop where he was reprogramming the station's maintenance drones. The softball-sized machines normally handled simple repair tasks, but Kevin was giving them new instructions. A Tarvik engineer named Grax watched with growing interest as Kevin worked. "Our engineers never thought to use the drones this way," Grax admitted. "Humans are good at making things work differently than intended," Kevin replied with a smile. "When you're small, you learn to use every advantage." He finished his coding and activated the first drone. It hummed to life and flew toward the ventilation system. "They'll disperse an electrical neutralizing agent through the affected areas," Kevin explained. "It should disable the parasites without damaging your systems further." In another part of the station, Lieutenant Samantha Howard led a team of human crew members through the ventilation system. The passages were cramped even for humans, requiring them to crawl on hands and knees. "Junction point ahead," Samantha called to her team. "We need to reach the emergency fire suppression controls." One of her team members, a young engineer named Alan, looked worried. "The radiation readings are climbing," he warned. "We can handle it for short periods," Samantha assured him. "Our smaller bodies actually process radiation differently than the larger species. We can endure higher short-term exposure." They reached the junction where several systems connected. Following Kevin's instructions, they rerouted emergency power to critical life support functions. Back in the main control room, Nathan coordinated the human efforts via radio. The alien leaders watched in amazement as the small screens on Nathan's portable equipment showed humans moving through spaces they considered too small and dangerous for any living being. "Your people show remarkable courage," Elder Foe said to Nathan. "Crawling into such tight spaces would cause most species severe distress. Humans have always explored caves, tunnels, and narrow passages," Nathan explained. "Our curiosity often outweighs our fear." An alert sounded, and the status displays showed improvement. "Power levels stabilizing in sections 14 through 16, announced a station controller. Vorex's scales shifted to a lighter color. "The small ones are succeeding." Olivia's voice came through on the communication system. "Captain, we've identified the parasites. They're artificially created. Someone engineered them specifically to attack the station's power systems." "Can you stop them?" Nathan asked. "Yes," Olivia replied. "We're combining Kevin's drones with a countermeasure based on Earth antibody principles. The parasites have never encountered this kind of defense." For the next several hours, the humans worked tirelessly alongside the station's crew. The maintenance drones, now under Kevin's control, delivered Olivia's countermeasure throughout the affected systems. Samantha's team manually reset junction points that the drones couldn't reach. By the time the crisis was contained, the humans were exhausted but triumphant. They gathered in the control room, where the station leaders waited. "You have demonstrated unexpected abilities," Zenith the Kensu said, crystal body glowing with what seemed like approval. "Your small size allowed you to reach areas impossible for us to access, and your ability to see and work with microscopic organisms saved many lives," added Elder Foe. Nathan looked at his tired team with pride. Sometimes the smallest tool in the box is exactly what you need. Vorax, who had been skeptical of the humans from the beginning, lowered his massive head to look Nathan in the eye. Perhaps, the Tarvik leader admitted, we have been measuring strength by the wrong standard. The day after the crisis, the station began to return to normal operations. The humans were invited to a special meeting of the Concord Council. As they entered the Grand Chamber, they noticed many more alien representatives than before, including species they hadn't yet met. Ambassador Phillips whispered to Nathan, "Word has spread about what we did. We have a larger audience now." Elder Foe opened the session. We gather to discuss recent events and the application of Earth to join the Galactic Concord. Before the discussion could begin, a large delegation of Tarvik entered the chamber. Their leader was not Vorax, but an even larger reptilian being with black scales and gold markings. "Supreme Commander Vask," Zenith announced, "we did not expect your presence." The massive Tarvik looked down at the humans with cold eyes. "The events on this station require my attention. These small creatures have demonstrated capabilities that concern me." The atmosphere in the room changed instantly. Where there had been growing respect, now tension filled the air. Vask continued, "The speed with which they adapted to our technology, their ability to move unseen through our systems, and their manipulation of microscopic weapons. We didn't create those parasites," Nathan interrupted. "We stopped them." Vask's tail thumped against the floor. "So you claim. But our investigation shows the parasites contain elements similar to Earth biology. They could only have been designed by someone familiar with your kind of life." Olivia stepped forward. "That's not accurate. The parasites were engineered, yes, but not by humans. The molecular structure. You expect us to take your word?" Vask asked. "Your species has advanced from primitive technology to space travel in merely a few centuries. Our historical records show that races developing so quickly are unstable and dangerous." Ambassador Phillips tried to speak, but Vask continued, "I propose that Earth be classified as a quarantine world. No contact, no membership, until they have proven themselves over many generations." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some alien representatives nodded in agreement, while others looked uncertain. Elder Foe raised his branches for silence. "This is a serious claim. Supreme Commander, the humans have shown nothing but cooperation." "That is what concerns me," Vask replied. "They are too eager, too adaptable. Remember the Minax problem." Nathan exchanged glances with Samantha. This was the second reference to some previous issue with a smaller species. Zenith's crystalline form pulsed with light. The Minax situation was different. They deliberately infiltrated our systems. And how do we know these humans are not doing the same? Vask demanded. "Their small size makes them perfect spies. They could hide anywhere on our worlds, in our ships." Lieutenant Samantha Howard had been quietly working on her tablet during this exchange. She stepped forward and connected it to the room's projection system. "While working to stop the crisis," she said clearly, "I found something interesting in the station's security logs." The massive screen showed a series of access records and communication logs. 3 days before our arrival, someone accessed the station's maintenance systems and disabled several key security protocols, Samantha explained. The access came from a Tarvik encryption key. The room erupted with surprised voices. Vask's scales darkened with anger. "You dare accuse the Tarvik Imperium?" he roared. "I'm not accusing anyone specifically," Samantha replied calmly. "But the evidence suggests someone wanted the station to have problems while we were here. Someone who didn't want Earth to join the Concord." Vorax, who had been quiet until now, moved to examine the data. "These codes are authentic," he admitted. "They come from our embassy on this station." Vask turned on Vorax. "You support these tiny creatures over your own kind." "I support truth," Vorax replied. "And these humans found it when we could not." Elder Foe raised his branches again. "This is a serious matter that requires investigation. The council will adjourn while we examine this evidence. As the aliens filed out, Nathan gathered his team. This isn't over. Someone went to a lot of trouble to make us look bad. Or to prevent Earth from joining the Concord, Ambassador Phillips added. The question is why? Olivia looked thoughtful. It has to do with this Minax problem they keep mentioning. We need to find out what happened with that species, and why some in the Concord are so afraid of small beings like us, Nathan agreed. While the Concord Council investigated the evidence Samantha had presented, the human team worked on two fronts. Olivia and Kevin sought information about the mysterious Minax species, while Nathan and Ambassador Phillips prepared their case for Earth's membership. Olivia found an old data terminal in a quiet corner of the station library. The massive screens and controls were designed for much larger beings, forcing her to stretch to reach them. Any luck? Kevin asked as he joined her. Some, Olivia replied. I found references to the Minax in historical archives. They were a small species about our size. They joined the Concord 300 years ago. What happened to them? That's where it gets interesting, Olivia said. According to these records, they advanced quickly through Concord society. Their small size let them work with technologies and systems the larger species couldn't easily access. Kevin nodded. Just like us in the maintenance tunnels. Exactly. But then there was some kind of incident. Most of the details are classified, but it involved station systems being compromised. The Minax were accused of sabotage, and their membership was revoked. Do you think they actually did it? Kevin asked. Olivia frowned. I'm not sure. But I found something else. The Minax homeworld is now listed as uninhabited. Meanwhile, Nathan and Ambassador Phillips were meeting with Elder Foe and several other council members who seemed sympathetic to humans. The evidence Lieutenant Howard found is compelling, Elder Foe said. But Supreme Commander Vask has many supporters who fear your kind. Because we're small? Nathan asked. A Kensu counselor named Vril chimed in. Size is not merely a physical attribute to us. It represents stability, longevity, commitment. Smaller beings tend to live shorter lives, make faster decisions, change course quickly. Those can be strengths, Ambassador Phillips pointed out. Adaptability has helped humanity survive many challenges. That same adaptability frightens some members of the Concord, Elder Foe said. They fear you might change too quickly, evolve in ways we cannot predict. The station alert system suddenly activated. All council members report to the emergency chamber, announced the computerized voice. When they arrived, the room was already filled with representatives from all Concord species. Supreme Commander Vask stood at the center, looking furious. The saboteurs have struck again, he announced. The primary reactor is becoming unstable. If it fails, this entire station is doomed. Screens showed the reactor core glowing dangerously bright. Station engineers worked frantically, but the situation appeared grim. Our technicians cannot reach the manual override, one of the engineers reported. The radiation levels are lethal, even for our most protected workers. Nathan looked at Kevin, who nodded in understanding. We can help, Nathan offered. Human bodies can withstand short bursts of radiation better than your larger species. Vask laughed bitterly. Now they volunteer to enter our most sensitive systems. Convenient. We survived on a planet bathed in radiation from our sun, Olivia explained. Our cells repair radiation damage efficiently because of our smaller size and faster cell replacement. Zenith stepped forward. Let them try. We have few options left. Kevin quickly studied the reactor schematics. I can reach the manual override, but the radiation will give me only minutes to work. We'll monitor from here, Olivia said, setting up equipment to track his vital signs. Kevin donned a protective suit that offered minimal protection against the radiation. Better than nothing, he said with a forced smile. Engineers guided him through a series of secure sections to reach the reactor chamber. When he arrived, the radiation meters on his suit immediately began flashing warnings. I'm at the control panel, Kevin reported through his comm. beginning the shutdown sequence. The aliens watched in silence as Kevin worked. His heart rate and body temperature rose steadily as the radiation took its toll. How can he function in that environment? Vril asked in wonder. Human adaptability, Olivia replied, watching Kevin's vital signs with concern. We evolved on a planet with environmental challenges. It made us tough. On the screen, they could see Kevin completing the shutdown sequence. The reactor's glow began to dim. Station systems reported decreasing radiation levels. He did it, Elder Foe said in amazement. Kevin staggered back from the controls. Override complete, he gasped. Reactor stabilizing. As emergency teams rushed to retrieve Kevin, Supreme Commander Vask stared at the screens in silence. For the first time, the massive Tarvik leader seemed at a loss for words. Perhaps, the Kensu counselor Vril observed, strength comes in many forms. 2 days after the reactor crisis, the Grand Council Chamber of Harmony Station was filled to capacity. Representatives from every Concord species had gathered for the final decision on Earth's membership. The human delegation sat together, Kevin still looking pale but determined to attend. Elder Foe opened the session. We gather to conclude our evaluation of humanity's petition to join the Galactic Concord. Nathan looked around the room. Many of the aliens who had previously ignored the humans now watched them with interest or respect. Even some of the Tarvik delegates seemed less hostile. Before we vote, Elder Foe continued, Supreme Commander Vask has requested to address the Council. The massive Tarvik leader moved to the center of the chamber. His black scales gleamed under the lights as he surveyed the assembly. When he spoke, his deep voice was solemn. My concerns about humanity were based on our history with the Minax. Vask began. 3 centuries ago, that small species joined our Concord. Like humans, they were adaptable and clever. They gained our trust, then used their access to our systems to attempt a takeover of key Concord worlds. Murmurs filled the chamber. This was the first public acknowledgement of what had happened. We believe that their size made them dangerous, able to hide, to infiltrate, to strike from shadows. After defeating their plot, the Concord decided that smaller species posed too great a risk. Vask turned to face the humans directly. But I was wrong to judge one species by another's actions. These humans could have used the recent crisis to their advantage. Instead, they risked their lives to save this station and everyone aboard. A surprised silence fell over the chamber. The strength of a species cannot be measured by size alone, Vask continued. True strength comes from how a species faces challenges, how they treat others, and what values guide their actions. The Kensu elder named Zenith moved forward, crystal body glowing brightly. We have completed our investigation of the recent incidents. The sabotage was carried out by a small faction that opposed expanding the Concord. They have been identified and will face justice. Elder Foe's branches swayed gently. Now we must vote on Earth's petition. But first, let us hear final words from the human delegation. Ambassador Phillips stood, looking tiny but dignified among the giant aliens. We came here hoping to join a community of different worlds and species. We've shown that humans may be small in stature, but we are strong in spirit, ingenuity, and determination. We bring unique perspectives and abilities that complement your own. Nathan joined him. Throughout our history, humans have feared the unknown. But we've learned that diversity makes us stronger. A galaxy needs beings of all sizes and abilities, just as an ecosystem needs creatures large and small. Olivia added, the microscopic organisms that nearly destroyed this station were invisible to you but visible to us. The maintenance tunnels too small for you were perfect for us. The radiation that would kill you instantly could be endured by us for critical minutes. These aren't weaknesses or threats. They're different forms of strength. Elder Foe nodded. Let the vote begin. The chamber's screens displayed the tally as each delegation registered their decision. The humans watched nervously as the numbers changed. When the final count appeared, Ambassador Phillips squeezed Nathan's shoulder. Earth is accepted into the Galactic Concord, Elder Foe announced, with full rights and responsibilities of membership. Cheers and various alien sounds of approval filled the chamber. Even many of the Tarvik delegates indicated their support in their own way. As the formal ceremony concluded, station's engineers approached Nathan with designs already drawn up for human-sized accommodations throughout Concord facilities. We would be honored to have human crew members assigned to Harmony Station, the lead engineer said. Later, as the human delegation prepared to return to Earth with news of their historic achievement, Nathan and Olivia stood at a viewport looking out at the stars. "We did it," Olivia said, despite being the smallest species in the room. "Maybe because of it," Nathan replied. "The galaxy is vast, with challenges and wonders of all sizes. It needs perspectives of all kinds to truly understand it." In the council chamber, after the humans had left, the oldest member of the Concord, a massive, ancient being that rarely spoke, turned to Elder Foe. "Watch them closely," the Ancient One said quietly. "In my billions of years observing the galaxy, I've noticed it's often the smallest species that ultimately have the largest impact on the stars.